When my wife's brother started using my workshop tools without permission, I thought I could handle it quietly. But when the tension finally broke, everything changed. I'm Jake, 39 years, living in Spokane, Washington. For over a decade, I've built a custom woodworking business right here in my garage, handcrafting everything from cabinets to dining tables. Every scar on my hands, every hour spent sanding or shaping wood, it's all part of what I've worked for. I'm not flashy or loud. I'm steady. Disciplined. Proud of what I've made. When I met Clara at 27, she was a whirlwind, bold, funny, and full of life. She filled every room with laughter and never cared what anyone thought. She liked that I was different from the chaos she was used to, steady, reliable. She talked a lot, and I listened more than I spoke. It worked. 2 years later, we were married. Clara worked in a local insurance office. Nothing glamorous, but steady. I handled the house, the repairs, the bills. She liked nights out, I preferred the quiet hum of my workshop. We made it work. But everything shifted when her younger brother, Liam, showed up. Liam was 26, fresh out of a tough spot in Portland. Clara didn't share many details, just that he'd gotten mixed up with bad roommates, couldn't hold a job, and needed a fresh start. She wanted him to stay with us, just for a little while, until he got back on his feet. I wasn't thrilled. I'm not close to my own family, and Clara's brother was a stranger to me. But I didn't want to fight about it. So I agreed, on one condition: it was temporary. He moved into our spare bedroom and immediately acted like he owned the place. Dishes left in the sink for days. Endless hours in the shower. Eating whatever he wanted without buying groceries. No job. No effort to help around the house. Just lounging on the couch, glued to his phone or the TV. At first, I gave him space. I hoped he'd turn things around. But then he started going into my workshop. The first time I noticed something was wrong, I came home and saw sawdust scattered on my workbench. I hadn't been in there all day. At first, I thought maybe I'd forgotten to clean up. Then I saw a clamp out of place, a chisel lying where I never leave it. I asked Clara about it. She said, "Oh, Liam's been messing around with some wood project. He said he used a couple of things." I told her straight up, "He can't use my tools without asking. This equipment isn't a toy, it's expensive and dangerous." She waved it off. "He's just trying to build something. It's harmless." Harmless? One wrong move on a band saw and you could lose a finger. Some of my tools cost more than his car. I went straight to Liam. Looked him dead in the eye and said, "Do not touch my tools without asking. This garage is my workspace, not your playground." He gave me this fake, lazy smile and said, Yeah, no problem." Next day, I walk into my workshop and nearly lost it. My custom brushes, ruined. Glue spilled all over the floor. One of my chisels, missing. The whole place looked like a tornado hit it. I stormed into the house, holding up the ruined brush. "Are you kidding me with this?" I asked Clara. She barely looked up from her phone. "Your brother's just trying to build something. You don't need to make it a big deal." "A big deal? That's a $40 brush. Half $100 bottle of glue wasted." I snapped. Then she said something that hit me like a punch, cold and sharp. "You think you own everything?" I stared at her, stunned, not knowing what to say. Then, quieter, almost like she didn't want to admit it. "You're not exactly irreplaceable. That one cut deep. Like I was just a piece of furniture in that house, something you replace when it breaks." I didn't say a word more. I went outside, sat in my truck, and just stared at the garage, at everything I'd built with my own hands. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words kept echoing in my head, "Not irreplaceable." At 5 a.m., before anyone else was awake, I backed my truck up to the garage. I stood in the doorway for a moment. It felt like walking into a stranger's home after it had been ransacked. Then I started loading everything, every tool, every saw, every blade. Every single thing I'd spent years collecting. I drove it all across town to a storage unit I'd rented just in case I ever needed a backup workspace. I unloaded it carefully and locked the door behind me. By 8 a.m., the garage was empty. But I left one thing behind. I asked a buddy who owns a print shop to make me a sign, bold, block letters on a black background, "Not yours." I nailed it to the garage wall right where my workbench used to be. Then I went about my day like nothing had happened. By noon, my phone blew up. Texts from Clara. "Where's all your stuff? What the hell is going on?" I ignored them. When I got home, Clara was waiting in the living room, arms crossed, and Liam was pacing behind her, face red with anger. "You seriously emptied the garage?" she snapped. I looked at her calmly and said, "I took what belongs to me. You never even asked." Liam jumped in. "Dude, you're being crazy. I barely used anything." I stared him down. "You wrecked $300 worth of supplies and lied about it." He shrugged. "It's just stuff." Clara stepped between us. "You're making this worse than it is." I said, "That shop was mine. Not yours. Not his. Mine." I didn't complain when Liam stayed. I didn't complain when he ate our groceries or left messes. But that workshop was my life, and you both crossed a line. And then she said it again, cold as ice. "You're not irreplaceable." That night, I walked out quietly. No yelling. No tears. I packed a few clothes, grabbed my laptop, and left. I crashed on the couch in the back room of my buddy Kevin's print shop that night. Kevin's been a friend since high school. He didn't ask questions, just handed me a beer and said, "Stay as long as you need." I didn't talk much. Maybe he saw it in my face. I was done. 2 days passed without a word from Clara. No calls, no texts. Then one afternoon, while I was sanding a new table in Kevin's shop, she just walked in like nothing had happened. She said quietly, "You really want to do this? Throw everything away?" I kept working. Didn't stop. She looked like I'd slapped her. "You're being so dramatic over a couple of tools." I finally put the sander down. "That couple of tools is how I make a living." "You let your brother steal from me and called it harmless," I said. "He's family." "I'm not," she said, looking down, silent. I stepped closer. "If the roles were reversed, and someone touched your stuff without asking, wrecked it, and you defended them, how would that feel?" She didn't answer. "You let him trash something I built with my bare hands. You made excuses. And when I said I'd had enough, you said I wasn't irreplaceable." Her voice cracked. "I didn't mean that." "Yeah, you did. And you still haven't apologized." She left after that. No tears. No begging. Just walked out. That night, Liam tried calling me. "You took everything." She's freaking out. "You happy now?" I hung up. The next day, calls started coming in, from friends, neighbors, people we both knew. Word was spreading fast. Clara, had been telling everyone I'd overreacted and abandoned her. She even posted vague messages on Facebook about feeling betrayed. I stayed quiet. Instead, I focused on rebuilding. Kevin offered me part of his back room to turn into a temporary workshop. I brought in my tools from storage and took on small jobs. Old clients came back, one even said, "Heard what happened. You handled it right." 2 weeks later, I got an unexpected email from a guy named Dave. We'd worked together years ago on a kitchen remodel. He now managed a commercial space downtown, an old boutique store, with cheap rent. He said, "Saw your story online. Got a spot you might like." Interested in moving your shop permanently? I met Dave that afternoon. The place was perfect. Big windows, tall ceilings, plenty of room for every tool I owned, and then some. For the first time in a long while, I saw what could come next. I signed the lease within a week. Meanwhile, things at the house were falling apart. Liam had no job, no money, and no tools to finish the coffee table he'd started. Neighbors started noticing the empty garage and the shouting matches. One even messaged me privately. "Everything okay over there? Heard Liam was screaming in the driveway last night." I told them I wasn't living there anymore. Then the real storm hit. I got served. Clara filed for separation, demanding half of everything, our property, the value of my tools, my business, even a share of the shop I just leased. She didn't understand how business ownership worked. She thought because we were married, she had a claim to everything, even what I'd bought years before we met. But I had kept every receipt, every purchase, every transaction. My business account was separate. I'd done everything by the book. My lawyer laid it out clearly. She doesn't have a case. If anything, she might owe you damages. That's when I decided to push back harder. We filed a countersuit for loss of income due to the damage caused, and we named Liam. Suing my own brother-in-law wasn't easy, but we had enough proof, photos, texts, witnesses. My lawyer said it was rare but strong. Clara went silent after that. No more texts. No Facebook posts. Liam sent me one last message. "This is war. You messed with the wrong family." I didn't reply, but I saved it. Because if he thought that was war, he had no idea what was coming next. About a week after filing the countersuit, I was deep into a custom oak desk project when Kevin poked his head in. "There's a woman out front asking for you," he said. "She says her name's Jenna." I didn't recognize the name. Wiped my hands and walked out to meet her. Jenna was in her late 30s, short brown hair, dressed in business clothes, holding a small folder. "You don't know me," she said, "but I know Liam. Or, I used to." She opened the folder. Inside were screenshots of texts, emails, court documents, restraining orders from Portland and Vancouver, filed by different women. Jenna was one of them. Turns out Liam had a dark history, not just laziness and freeloading, but threatening behavior and multiple evictions. One restraining order was still active. She told me she found my name through an old photo Clara had posted years ago. "I saw your name come up again in a private Facebook group where women warn each other about dangerous men. Liam's name's been mentioned 3 times in the last month." I was floored. She said, "I saw the story about your tools online, people sharing it. I recognized him immediately. If he's still hurting people, someone needs to know." Jenna left the folder and said, "I hope it helps." I handed it all over to my lawyer. This wasn't just about tools anymore. It was about a pattern of behavior, about trust broken, and Clara had brought him into my home and defended him. My lawyer said it might not change the property dispute directly, but it could influence how the judge viewed character and credibility. A few days later, I got a call from Clara, the first since everything was filed. I didn't answer. Let it go to voicemail. Her voice was shaky, almost pleading. "I think we need to talk. Things got out of hand. I didn't know about Liam's past. I just wanted to help him. I didn't mean for it to come between us." I played the message for my lawyer. He nodded and said, "She's realizing the damage." But I didn't call back. Words weren't what I needed anymore, I wanted results. Meanwhile, an old client named Rick reached out. He ran a local contracting business and said he'd seen my story. "You ever thought about teaching?" he asked. "We've got younger guys who don't know real tools, just YouTube stuff. You could run workshops out of your new shop, teach basics, and build a community." At first, I hesitated. I wasn't a teacher. But something about it stuck with me. I built extra workbenches, put together a beginner course, basic joinery, safety, tool care. Within a week of posting on Facebook, 12 people signed up, half hobbyists, half young guys starting careers. The shop started buzzing in a new way. I wasn't just rebuilding my business, I was rebuilding a community. Liam didn't just respond to our countersuit, he filed his own against me. Claimed I had bullied him, created a hostile home, even physically threatened him. My lawyer laughed reading the paperwork, but it meant this was going to court. It wasn't just about money anymore, it was about truth. Court day came fast. I wore clean jeans and a button-down. No need to impress, just respect. My lawyer, Bruce, told me, "Stay calm. Stick to the facts. Let the truth do the work." Liam showed up in a wrinkled suit, smirking like this was a joke. Clara sat behind him, tight-lipped, avoiding my eyes. When it was my turn, I told the truth. How I built that workshop from scratch, saved every dollar, bought every tool. How Liam damaged my tools, how I warned him, how I left when I realized I wasn't respected. Bruce presented receipts, photos, texts, even Clara's voicemail. He showed the judge the folder Jenna gave us, with active restraining orders against Liam. Liam took the stand and lied. Said I threatened him with a hammer, screamed every night, kept weapons around the house. Claimed I made Clara cry all the time. Said I sabotaged his career. When asked what career, he stammered, "Furniture designer." Bruce handed him a paper. "This is a cease and desist letter from a local business after you tried to sell knockoffs of copyrighted designs." Liam froze. The judge asked direct questions. "Did you live rent-free?" "Yes." "Did you ever pay for the tools?" "No." "Were you told not to use them?" "Yes." Clara looked tired and pale. She said she didn't know Liam's past and just wanted to help him. When asked about the "not irreplaceable" comment, she said Bruce took it out of context. Bruce played the voicemail again. The courtroom fell silent. After closing statements, we waited. A week later, the verdict came. The judge sided with me on every count. Clara got nothing, no share of the tools, no part of the business, no claim to the lease. She was held partially responsible for the damage Liam caused. The judge ordered Liam to pay $28,000 in damages. He didn't have it. The court froze his bank account, garnished future wages, and put a lien on tax returns. The court also reported his false claims to the DA. He was arrested for perjury. Turns out, he was already on probation from Portland. Lying in court violated his probation. He got 6 months in county jail, and a warning, one more strike, prison. After the case ended, Clara sent me one last message. "None of this would have happened if you hadn't taken the tools." I didn't answer. It had to happen. It had to fall apart so I could finally see the truth. Remember that woodworking class I started? It took off. The local paper ran a story, "From Dust to Respect, the craftsman who rebuilt everything." Within a month, I had waiting lists for my workshops. I hired 2 assistants, opened the back room for apprentices, and built a community around the craft. That original sign, the one I made that said "Not yours?" I framed it and hung it on the front wall of the new shop, right by the entrance. People ask about it all the time. I tell them the truth. Respect matters. What you build, what you earn, what you protect, it's yours. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I never spoke to Clara or Liam again. Last I heard, Clara moved in with a cousin in Tacoma. Liam? He's flipping burgers an hour outside town. He tried to start a GoFundMe for his court fines. It raised $37. One comment said, "Maybe don't steal from the guy who knows how to cut people off clean." I didn't write it, but I smiled when I read it. Because sometimes, revenge doesn't come with fire and screams. Sometimes, it comes with silence, and an empty garage. Where are you watching from today? I'd love to hear what part of the world you're in, and whether this story stirred something in you. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. You never know who might need to hear your words. If this story spoke to you, if you believe in quiet victories, personal growth, and stories that matter, subscribe to the channel. There's so much more ahead, and I'd be honored to share it with you. Thank you for being here. Until next time, stay grounded, stay kind, and remember, your story is still unfolding.